Gold and silver are very expensive right now. It certainly feels that way if you've been stacking for a long time. And if you're a new stacker and you're trying to buy little tiny bits of gold, maybe not quite as small as this, but 1 gram bars maybe, you are feeling the pinch of the premium. It's expensive to buy this kind of product. But at the other end of the spectrum, buying a single entire ounce of gold is out of the range of affordability for a lot of people right now. So it would be nice, wouldn't it, if there was a digital version of gold and silver that you could get at a much more affordable price without the premiums attached to it, that is something more practical than physical gold. And it also wouldn't come with the risk of physically owning a lot of wealth within your own personal life, whether that be at home or in a storage facility. So a lot to talk about as the world continues to evolve. And we have a good old precious metal ramble. Hello everybody, Backyard Bullion here. Welcome to another precious metal ramble where we have down-to-earth discussions about all things precious and shiny. Now with gold prices being at all-time highs and seemingly never stopping, they're on the rise, I think, for good right now. And silver, to be fair, silver is up massively at the moment. It does beg the question about the physical ownership of gold and silver. With the prices continuing to rise, even a modest gold stack is seeing that value skyrocket. And at some point that becomes, of course, a little bit of a worry and a liability. So perhaps you might want to consider other avenues. Certainly buying 1 ounce gold at the moment is very expensive, and a lot of people go to fractional gold and have smaller amounts of it within their collections and stacks. But of course that comes with premiums. So this neat little segue brings me to the question about vaulted gold and silver, digital gold and silver, stuff that you don't physically hold, but stuff, of course, that you might own. Now, I'm putting own in inverted commas because the traditional services that we've seen out there about vaulted, and you see a lot of them out there, you know, vaulted in our vaults in Switzerland or in London, and lots of pomp and ceremony and glamour on these websites. And I've always been very, very cautious about that. If you don't hold it, you don't own it. That old adage is a hard thing to get your head past. So, is it something that we should consider? And is the current economy and market, with gold prices being so high that it really is unaffordable for most people to buy a 1 ounce gold coin? And if they're left with the only option of buying fractional bits of gold, which come, of course, at very high premiums, then they're left out of pocket a little bit, realistically. So maybe a fractional gold system that would be much more obtainable for the little tiny pieces of gold. You could even invest in one single fraction of a gram of gold. And when you consider that a gram of gold at the moment is worth £90, even just having a fraction of a gram might be a really good option. And we'll talk a little bit more in today's video sponsor about those opportunities. But the whole premise of not owning it, if you don't hold it, is one that it's going to be hard for a lot of stackers to get their heads around. But I do think that we are in a modern era whereby it is important to have that consideration for your stack, not just from the physical security point of view, but from the affordability point of view. As prices will continue to rise, in my opinion, and in my opinion, not financial advice, they're going to go up a lot over the coming years. We are going to see gold do very, very good things. And it's going to be a scary time for the world for sure. So what happens to your gold? Well, you will see it go up in value, which increases the liability of storing gold at home, for example. Or perhaps you have to consider paying extra money for insurance, or perhaps you have to pay for a safe deposit box. But then you're in this weird intermediary scenario where you're basically vaulting it yourself, and you're paying, of course, to do that. You don't physically own the gold again. If there's an apocalyptic scenario, a zombie apocalypse, you're not necessarily going to be able to go down to your local bank and get access to that vault. Now, of course, if there is an apocalyptic scenario, you're not necessarily going to get available all your digital gold. But I'm not entirely convinced that there will be a full-on zombie apocalypse whereby we won't have any access to these online services. The more likely apocalypse, I say apocalypse, is going to be the devaluation of currencies, perhaps seeing mass hyperinflation of different currencies. And in those circumstances, you'll want to have some kind of backup, and gold and silver are the backups. And I think there's a really interesting company out there that is showing a lot of promise in this world. So that neatly brings us to today's video sponsor. Right now, gold is trading at all-time highs, which far surpass many of the most bullish forecasts for 2025 that were issued by any of the major Wall Street banks. Gold and silver are having a breakout year, and it's happening because tariffs and wars have changed the way that dollars are used around the globe. We are entering a very volatile era where China, Russia and their axis are finding ways to transact without the dollar, and the West is dealing with massive sovereign debt crises. Which brings us to today's video sponsor, StreamX, NASDAQ STEX. This could be one of the most monumental and significant developments in gold and commodities we've ever seen. Everybody understands how Blockbuster's business model became totally obsolete and outdated when Netflix offered the exact same content, but through streaming. ETFs made gold trading more accessible to a much larger audience in the 2000s, in much the same way that Blockbuster branches made movies accessible to cinema goers. But StreamX wants to do to commodity ETFs what Netflix did to movies and TV shows, what Apple did to music and phones. They want to dramatically improve the user experience and make it simpler, easier and better, and offer it globally. Gold is experiencing a bull market that has shocked many, and the available ETFs on the market right now turn so many away who just don't trust the audits, who don't believe that they are fully backed by the underlying metals, or who live in dozens of the countries where these ETFs are just not available to trade. There are massive problems that these ETF providers know are their weaknesses. The platform itself was developed by the same software experts that built cybersecurity infrastructure for Capital One Bank, Bank of America and JP Morgan's credit card processing infrastructure business, one of the largest fintech platforms in the world. The token will be on the Solana and Coinbase's Base blockchain, and as you well know, tokenization of real-world assets is the biggest and most important financial disruption of our times. This is inception and a major revolution could be underway. Do your research on StreamX, which looks to disrupt the current giants in commodity ETFs with fully backed, audited and verified ownership. Once again, thank you to StreamX for sponsoring today's video, and now back on with our main precious metal ramble. Now, it is a difficult world to be in, certainly when it comes to premiums. And look, I'm not going to shy behind the fact that, for example, some of the products that we've currently got available on our website, little plug for the Backyard Bullion shop, you can go over to our website, links in the description box below as well, and you can see some of our fractional gold bits. And, you know, they're not cheap to make at the moment. Fractional gold is expensive to purchase, and then, of course, my manufacturing costs on top of that as well. We hallmark these, which come at an extra cost. Silver prices, of course, being higher. We have our poured silver, which comes at extra cost of labor, manufacturing as well. Again, our channel bars available on our website right now. It does mean, though, that these are getting more difficult to buy affordably. And if you are wanting to get invested in gold and silver, listen, these are premium products. I'm not saying that everybody should go and buy my poured silver bars as much as you might like the look of them. They are premium products. If you just want to invest in silver, don't buy my poured silver. But if you want to invest in silver, then you can do so, and more so even in the UK, because at the moment we pay VAT, sales tax on brand new silver from various dealers and mints. And it's really, really bad to see. And of course, now with prices being high, that 20% VAT on top means that that extra monetary cost is even higher. So it's a real difficult thing. And if there was a way that you can do that, of course, you can get vaulted silver, digi-silver without that additional cost, then it will save a lot of money for a lot of people. But where I see one of the biggest barriers is, of course, getting your head around the if you don't physically hold it, you don't own it strategy that a lot of stackers live or die by. But we are in this 21st century, and blockchain technologies and digital currencies and digital backing of currencies, I think, is the way the world is going, and it's impossible to ignore it. So physical gold and silver, yes, still brilliant and great. Will it save you in a zombie apocalypse? Maybe. You'll have this to go down to the shops if the zombies will let you, and you'll barter exchange for things. But if you're in a bit of more of a modern apocalypse whereby currencies are devalued and your money in your bank is basically worthless, which is unfortunately the way it's going at the moment, it seems, almost on a weekly, daily basis, then yeah, you'll be able to have a little bit of a better exposure to protecting your wealth without the risk of physical ownership, without the risk of it being unaffordable from fractional bits of gold, especially fractional silver. Look, again, plug for my own stuff. I'm not going to hide behind the fact that these are premium products. You know, I've priced these at £150, which is 120 for the gold. which is, by the way, completely on par with other bits of manufactured gold. These Diwali gold bars are £120 right now from dealers in the UK. So I like to think that I've actually priced my little 1 gram gold bars quite nicely for limited edition products that are unique and handmade. So, you know, it is what it is. But fractional silver is a lot of the time a real, I don't want to say rip-off, because look, I'm trying to sell them and I've priced the silver in here at £3 a gram. It cost me near £2 a gram to get this and make it. It's just not very profitable for me to do. But at the same time, it's quite fun to make them, and they're a bit of tongue-in-cheek, because I call this my Apocalypse Barter Token frac pack. You know, you've got this is, you know, this is all you need. You've got your gold and your silver. You can go and you can buy the big things with the gold and the little things with your silver, and that's, I think, a bit of fun. But at the same time, it is a real problem, I think, in the future for people. Like, you're not going to go down to the shops with this. You're not going to go with a pot of silver grain. People won't know how to test it, won't know how to look at it. And, you know, there are lots of other options out there in terms of fractional stuff. In fact, I think I've got them, just hiding away here inside a beautiful kookaburra. Got the goldbacks. Are goldbacks the possible solution for the future? I would argue no, they're not. I mean, they come at exceptional premiums, even more so than any of the gold bars that you've seen on the table here. But people like them. People buy them. Are they practical for a apocalyptic scenario? No. Is DigiGold the way forwards? I kind of feel I'm coming around to it, if I'm being honest. And I'm not just saying that because we've been sponsored by this company today, but it is, I think, an interesting concept and something that I genuinely am interested in as a stacker. Fractional gold that you can get cheap on premium is a rare thing. And if I put up fractional gold on our Buyers Club, or if I put it up for sale on our website, if I priced my bars at spot price, my fractional gold, they would go out within like that. So one person would probably buy them all instantly. So it does make for interesting thinking about whether or not, if there was a service that you could get this kind of stuff at that base rate fractional nature, then you would. I'm sure if goldbacks were priced at the material spot price of the gold content, they would be like the most sold out product on the planet by any stretch. They would be. They'd be beyond demand. But it's not always the case. So there we have my ramblings on the subject. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. It'd be great to hear what you've got to say. If you are in the Cool Kids Club, then what should we do? I think we're going to do this beautiful MS62 1919 Canada Sovereign. Saw this one come up for sale on the Silver Forum. Quick plug for the Silver Forum. Great place to buy and sell gold. One of these is a very limited mintage. I think they only had a couple of 100,000 in the Canada mintage. So when I saw it come up at Bullion price, I was like, yes, please, and bought it. Very good. But you need to quote me serial number. Should we do the whole number, or should we actually, tell you what, let's do 1919C. If you do 1919C, I will know that you're super cool and watch to the end of my videos. Otherwise, if you are interested in supporting our channel further than just watching, liking, sharing, and commenting and subscribing, then you can go and see all of the products that we've got available on our website, some fractional gold bars, some of our frac packs, at least at the time of filming, were available. Maybe they won't be by the time this video goes live. And our Backyard Bullion channel bars, 100 gram channel bars, up for grabs on the website right now. So go and check all of those out. Links in the description box below. Thank you again for watching. I'll see you on the next video. As always, please make sure that you like, share, comment, and subscribe for more.